We are back here once again on the Cowboys Report. Some more OTA news, notes, and takeaways to get into, including and not limited to George Pickens has seemingly picked his new jersey number. He's going to be number 3, so it is indeed GP3 season for the Cowboys. He's taking that number from Dante Fowler, who was going to flip over to 13, which means that Fanatics leak we had mentioned a couple days ago was indeed accurate. You can get your own George Pickens jersey at chatsports.com/Pickens. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show, but it is going to be number 3 for George Pickens. Stephen Jones was present at Cowboys OTA practice today and mentioned a couple of different topics. First of which he was asked, you going to do anything post-June 1st? Got any moves cooking? And he said, quote, don't have anything that's on the front burner, which I interpret as, we're not going to do anything right now, but, doors always open, 365. We'll revisit again, maybe in training camp. Now, Stephen Jones was also specifically asked about Jalen Ramsey, and he said, no, he plays for the Dolphins, which is kind of a double denial. The first of which is, I'm not sure they're really very interested. But also, he can't talk about Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey is under contract with the Miami Dolphins. He's not allowed to discuss players from other teams. That's how you get fined. But I am inclined to believe him on not having interest in Ramsey, not looking to do things with that post-June 1st timeline. But especially Ramsey. I get it. It'd be fun. It'd be fun to have him on the Cowboys. We'd all be hyped as heck about it. But a $21+ million price tag is a massive issue for Dallas. That's more than their other 4 trade acquisitions cost combined for this year. It's a huge figure. And I do think the Cowboys want to see what their guys can offer during training camp. Now, if there's a spot they go, okay, we're probably not good enough here, they can revisit. And they very well might revisit. They've done it before. They did it last year when they did nothing in the entire offseason. Cornerback, defensive tackle, maybe running back. Those could all be potential needs, especially defensive tackle, since we're doing the Mozzie Smith and the Funky Bunch again when it didn't work last year, which is kind of a huge red flag for me. Not to mention there's potential of injuries, other stuff going on, trades, etc. So I don't think they're going to make a move right now. In 2 months, when you get to early August and they've seen the first 2 weeks of training camp or so, could very well change at that point. So will the Cowboys make another big roster move, even just before the season begins, so to give you that August window? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Sound off at the pinned comment of today's show. Let's go to Micah Parsons. Some updates here. He did not participate at Cowboys OTAs. Brian Schottenheimer, as we'll get into, said he expects him at minicamp, which is a key date for the Cowboys and for Micah. But after practice today, Micah Parsons did show up. Now, that was photo day for the Cowboys, so I think this falls under the things I'd like to have happen on that front. That's key. That he's there, which is kind of what Schottenheimer has alluded to. He was asked, you think Micah will be in attendance at minicamp? He said, I assume he'd attend. Mike and I talked a couple days ago. Again, he's doing a little bit of traveling. I think he was in Spain, by the way. But again, everything that I have talked about, I expect he will be there. Like I said, I say it each and every week, Micah and I have had great communication. Everything I've asked him to do and vice versa, he's followed through on. So I would expect to see him. I also feel like showing up for photo day is one of the things that may or not have been discussed. Some key offseason dates. They had their open to the media OTA session today. Thursday, I believe it's a closed OTA session. I am curious how much they actually do. This could be we canceled the final day of OTAs thing and go do team bonding stuff instead. June 10th to the 12th, they do have mandatory minicamp, and then July TBD will be training camp. Micah has been around some. The FC showed up late today. Minicamp is mandatory, though, so you can't be around some. You got to be around all of it. There would be fines if Micah is not present. It is a holdout if he's not there. Nothing so far has been a holdout. You could also have a hold-in situation where he's present, he's doing the classroom stuff, but he's not taking part in drills. That would not be a huge surprise to me. At least you're there, you're present. So will Micah Parsons be participating TBD, but at Cowboys minicamp? My gut says yes, but I want to hear from you. Why for yes and for no? Sound off in the comments of today's video. Let's Let's go rapid fire here on a few quick injury updates. Of note, it is June, and I wouldn't really read too much into anything. Although I think maybe the most we can read into is this update. Both Sam Williams and Donovan Wilson got some individual drill work in today. They began with the rehab group, then did some of that. That indicates to me that they're trending closer towards being back. Are they back in time for minicamp fully? Probably not. Training camp? I do think so. That's kind of been the expectation for Wilson. I think Sam Williams, who looks bigger, by the way, and I mean that in a positive sense, he looks like his arms are bigger. I think that is an indication that he's going to be good to go for training camp. That would be the ideal outcome as well. Malik Hooker left practice during the stretching period, didn't return. I think it was Clarence Hill, he told later he had some back spasms, and he should be good for Thursday. So, this is the June 3rd back spasm you're not really worried about there. CeeDee Lamb, Osa Odighizuwa were present, did not do any team drills. So, again, I wouldn't read too much into that. Probably some type of minor soft tissue thing that it's June, so they go, just take a seat, you're fine. I wouldn't be surprised they're back out there Thursday or back out there for minicamp, whatever. Nothing to be concerned about. Because if they weren't out there, period, like Lamb walked out there with his helmet and then just took it off and didn't do the drills, I'm not concerned there. If you want more free Cowboys YouTube videos, come to the right spot. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV. We'll go with even more notes tomorrow morning. I want to get the initial wave out, and then we'll hit even more stuff. Maybe not the same big-level names, but more final OTA notes tomorrow. Maybe winners and losers, we'll see. But daily videos all off-season long for you. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. Want to go in-depth on Deone Clark. And Brian Schottenheimer had praise for Deone Clark's work so far in OTAs. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, which we're up to 4 players now because he mentioned Miles Sanders and Kyle Elam as the right type of guy, which is just Jason Garrett's right kind of guy. But he was asked about them, so it doesn't really count. Here's what Schotty said on Clark. I think this stuff does matter, by the way. Quote, I think the way he's diagnosing things looks quicker to me than maybe in the past. Maybe a little more command of it. The physical traits have always been there. I think the connection he has with Flus and Borgonzi, that's important. This is important. I think that being the takeaway is actually a big deal. Instincts and processing have been the issue for Deone Clark. It has never been the physical skill set. He's got size. He's got athletic ability. He's able to do everything you'd want in a linebacker. But he hasn't always been able to turn it into results because the processing, the instincts, the feel haven't been there. I am not going to assume he's able to fix it this offseason. I think that's actually very challenging to do. Not impossible, but challenging. If the linebacker whisperer, Matt Eberflus, which is, we said that about Mike Zimmer too, to be fair, if he can fix that, that adds another very intriguing element to this linebacker room because Clark's raw talent level is up there with anybody on this team. Now, he's still, I think, got to earn a roster spot. We'll come back to that here and the big play he made today as well. Will Deone Clark make the Cowboys roster? A for yes, B for no. Now, I will give Deone Clark some double dip of credit here. He kind of backed up the praise he was getting from Schottenheimer. He picked off Joe Milton for, I'll put air quotes in pick six, because there's not tackling, so there's not necessarily always a pick six, but normally you're jumping around underneath and you just got to outrun everybody, and Clark's fast enough there. That's a big deal for Clark. He fell out of favor last year. There were some signs. There was growth in year 2, right? And then regression in year 3, and significant amount of regression, which is always a red flag there. He's never been the impact guy. 109 tackles? Sweet. 4 of them, a handful of splash plays over the course of his career. You want more than that. You want a splash play more than once every 15, 20 snaps. That's just kind of out there, but not being dynamic, not being impactful. I think there is a scenario where the Cowboys eventually go to Deone Clark and say, hey, we want you around, but not at your current cap hit. Because Clark has played so much, his final cap number and salary are actually higher than the normal late day 3 pick. He's owed $3.47 million. If they were to cut or trade him, whatever it is, new team or cap savings, it's the same figure, it's $3.41 million. So I think you could have a scenario where the Cowboys approach Deone Clark at some point and go, look, we want you on the team. We really don't want to pay you $3.4 million. What if you cut that number down to $2, and then we'll guarantee it and secure your spot and you get more guaranteed money? That is not uncommon. And if Clark is, solidifying himself as a backup, not a starter, that might make more sense for actually all parties involved. Clark gets more money than he make elsewhere. Gets to stay in Dallas. Cowboys save a few bucks in the process.